2016's The Legend of Tarzan is the latest big screen adaptation of Edgar Rice Burroughs' classic character. It stars Alexander Skarsgård as the titular vine swinger, Margot Robbie as Jane, Samuel L. Jackson, and Christoph Waltz as the evil Leon Ram. The film begins with Tarzan living in Victorian England as John Clayton III, Earl of Greystoke, which is apparently the place that John Clayton is Earl of. Tarzan is lured back into the jungle after 8 years by an official invitation from the King of Belgium to visit the various developments that Belgium is building in the Congo. He is joined by Samuel L. Jackson's George Washington Williams, the American envoy and an abolitionist who believes that the Belgian government is engaging in the slave trade in the Congo. He's also joined by Jane because Jane was raised in Africa as he was and longs to reconnect with her surrogate family there. Once in the Congo, they discover Christoph Waltz's Leon Ram, whose nefarious plans... Okay. This part is about as convoluted as one of those 80s James Bond movies. You know, the later ones with Roger Moore where about 8 million things are going on and none of it makes any sense until finally there's a ticking bomb. That's kind of the way this is. So, okay, Christoph Waltz is in the Congo and he's meeting with a warlord played by Jamin Hansu and getting diamonds from him to pay for mercenaries who are apparently going to invade or set up, and it's all going to I support the Belgian government or get him out of debt or something. I don't know. The takeaway is that it all leads to a great big fight on a boat with machine guns and explosions and a lot of really badly CGI'd animals storming the beach. As Tarzan, Alexander Skarsgård does just fine. He mostly acts with his incredibly chiseled abs, almost supernaturally chiseled, I'd say, and incredibly incongruous for anyone living in the Victorian times. Apparently, Greystoke Manor's got a Nautilus machine in the gym someplace. Margot Robbie is much better as Jane. She's interesting, she's spunky, she's headstrong, but the movie still uses her as a plot point, having Ram kidnap her to have Tarzan chase him and make the movie go. It's a little disappointing. Samuel L. Jackson's kind of the audience surrogate, watching everything going on around him with a kind of wide-eyed, like, I can't believe this is going on. And he has the distinction of being the only actor in a summer blockbuster to make a running gag out of offering to fillet a monkey. That happens. Seriously. It does. There's a dumb, fun, pulpy movie inside Tarzan trying to get out, and you can see that in Christoph Waltz's mustache-twirling performance and in his cool spider silk rosary, which he uses as a garrote and as an offensive weapon. It's the kind of stupid thing that you'd expect in, just a dumb, fun summer movie. Unfortunately, these elements are in service of a plot that deals with issues like slavery and imperialism and oppression, and they don't work, they don't gel, and the whole movie feels unstable because of it. On top of all that, the movie really doesn't move very quickly. It doesn't have a lot of action set pieces, really drags, and the CGI is extremely hit and miss. It's really critical in a movie like this for the animals to come off as realistic as possible, and in several cases, the renderings are really, really very poor, and it just takes you out of it. This is the fourth attempt to bring Tarzan to the big screen, really in the post-World War II era. The 1981 Tarzan, the Ape Man, was basically just really, really, really expensive softcore pornography in which director John Derek wanted to show the world how sexy his wife was by getting her naked as much as possible in the film. And if that indeed was his intention, hey, mission accomplished, Starfleet. But I don't think you needed to relocate to Africa to shoot on location to convince us Bo Derek is sexy. 1984's Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan was an attempt to do the subject matter as seriously and realistically as possible, and it ended up being a fairly hit-and-miss film that was quickly forgotten. Probably the best big-screen treatment of it recently was 1999's Disney animated version of it, And that kind of brings me to my main point, which is that Tarzan just doesn't work anymore. The reason that the Disney version worked is because it was a children's film. It was an animated film. You could put in a guy talking to animals and animals talking back to him. What the hell? We have movies with dancing, talking teapots. It works in this context. When you try to make a live-action movie out of it, you run into a host of problems, not the least of which was that the Legend of Tarzan was written back at a time when our understanding of Africa and of science in general, of natural history, was fairly poorly informed. And you could get away with the idea that a young boy would be raised by apes and could become this sort of jungle-dwelling Ubermensch, but it just doesn't wash anymore. We know too much about the world. On top of that, dealing with Tarzan means dealing with a whole host of really difficult issues. Colonialism, exploitation, the exotization of, the non-European world. And it's very difficult to get past all of those things, to really sort of parse through all of those things and do justice to them, just to get to a story about a dude who lives with apes and can communicate with animals like a less hygienic Dr. Dolittle. I mean, it just doesn't work. Ultimately, I think the character of Tarzan and his adventures are something that we as a society have really grown past. We've outgrown that. It doesn't work anymore. It made for fine entertainments around the turn of the century and up through the 1930s or so. But the world is a much smaller place now, and our understanding of it is much greater. And a character like Tarzan simply doesn't work. Plus, you gotta know he's gotta be like swimming with lice and diseases and things, right? I mean, he's just gross. God, think about how he smells. It's not. There's not deodorant in the jungle. That's body spray or anything like that.